we are here because we're going to get Bernie elected, right?
Yeah!
So, how we get Bernie elected is because, you know, all of the other campaigns or big money donors have all the money, right? But we have all the people power. So that means that we need to go and knock on those doors, make those phone calls, get our neighbors out, and turn out to vote. So what we're asking you to do, along with voting for Bernie on the 3rd of March, don't forget the 3rd of March, we will be having GOTV events, which is Get Out the Vote, where we'll be canvassing all weekend and Monday and Tuesday to make sure that people get out to vote and that we win. So we all have our own story, reason why we're supporting Bernie. We all are here because we believe in the message that Bernie brings. Personally, I grew up here in Maine. I grew up on a small farm in Lake Coast, Maine. Grew up under the poverty line. Lost our house, lost our farm, lost vehicles. Went to college, ended up with $100,000 worth of debt to get an animal science degree. And then $10,000 in medical debt. And now, I'm expecting my first child in June.
Bernie baby!
Yeah. And my baby will be a multiracial baby, and I'm not okay with them growing up in America the way it is now. So we need to do our best to make sure that we make a society and a country that will work for all of us. So I'm going to pass out some sign-up sheets. So if y'all can sign up for at least one thing, that would be wonderful. And done.
Thank you. And I want to say, do you know Barney McGowan here? Everyone know Barney McGowan?
Yeah.
Many years ago, I was young and a legislative aide at the state capitol, and I served him, and he didn't want to deal with any of the people. He was at a serious mission, but he said, "I'll take you. You're okay." But we really worked on a tax reform policy to change the way taxes are very disproportionate and very unfair to working people and low-income people in Maine. We tried to switch the whole system so that people wouldn't be struggling to pay their property tax bills in the state, especially in a lot of communities when property taxes were being driven up by people coming in and building more expensive buildings and whatnot. So Barney worked on that, and what I want to say is that when he came in there, they said, "No way in heck, who's this guy coming in here telling us how we're going to change our whole system, and you're not going to get any support out of the committee." But he one by one grabbed them, and he grabbed the leaders, and he got everyone to the point where he overwhelmingly passed the bill in the taxation committee. He had an overwhelming vote in the House of Representatives, and the big, of course, these big lobbyists came and they nipped it in the bud in the Senate before we could get it to the governor. But that just reminded me that a lot of like what Bernie Sanders is doing, when people said, "There's no way this guy from Vermont can come in and take on the corporate establishment and change the whole system, and he's not going to get any support." And in 2016, when the campaign started, he was polling at about 6%, and he went on to win New Hampshire and win Maine with over 2/3 of the vote. And right now, people said he's out. I had a lot of legislators. I serve in the legislature from Portland, and I was up there talking to them, and some of them I said, "So you're going to go for Bernie again?" They said, "Oh, well, I've been hearing he can't win and this and that," and they've been saying that for a couple months, and now all of a sudden they're all there. They're like, "Oh my God, I didn't know. I should have listened to you." But what I'm saying is that what they said couldn't happen is happening, and it's because of, as he says, not me, us. It's us right here in this room, and it's people like you all around the country. And you look at the map of support and his donors and volunteers, it's not in one city or town. Every state, you see dots of support and donations. It's in every little small community, every city. He has a message that brings everyone in this country together. Right now we have someone dividing this country, dividing this world, and he's the person that can unite people. And that's why we're here. And things are looking good, but we got to earn this win again. We know we won big last time. There's a lot more people in this race. All these polls don't matter unless we show up and vote. So I'm going to ask you please to sign up with Abigail and other volunteers. Come out to some local events, make phone calls, knock on doors. If you know people that are going to be turning 18 in high school, tell them they can vote. We need the young people to vote. Young voters are really driving him. But it's not just young people now. We're really getting a lot more support with women in the suburban areas around the country. We are, if you saw Nevada, we are doing so well with the Latino vote, young Latino voters, young African American voters, Native American communities around the country. Support is building. There's excitement there. And I think that not only do we got to get this crazy guy out of the White House, but we need to have a transformational president we haven't seen since Franklin Roosevelt, and I don't think anyone was around back then. So maybe one or two of you remember, but I think Barney might be about 80, but he's still out playing golf every day, even in the snow, maybe, I don't know. But the point is we can win this, but we can win this, as Abigail said, we don't have a lot of big corporate sponsors and billionaires, but it's the people in this room and the people around the country that are giving $2.70, $27, and because of that, we have broken all fundraising records, and we are breaking records for volunteers around the country. Right now, we're well over 1 million volunteers and growing every day, and before the general election, we are literally going to have enough volunteers that if all of them speak to 15 people, we're going to have talked to every single voter in this country. And there's never been any change in this country in the past 100 years, whether you talk about civil rights movement or the suffrage movement or the labor movement. Nothing's happened unless you have 1 million, 2 million, 3 million people get to come out and make it happen. And not only that, we're not going to do anything just winning the White House. Bernie excites people to come out and vote for people running for U.S. Senate and Congress. We need to have that Congress back fully to implement this change. And then once we elect Bernie and elect a good Congress, all of us can't stop, because you know that these big interests, fossil fuel interests, the big pharma interests, they're not just going to give up and roll over. We need to back him up all the way to the White House. That's what we're here for. We're going to get some good ice cream to kind of fuel us all the way to victory. But I just want to really thank Barney and Pat and Vaughn for all their work. And I was just going to have one of them, maybe Vaughn, you want to speak, and then we can let Ben and Jerry say a motivational few words and then give you some motivational ice cream. So thank you all for coming.
Hey, Pittsfield. So it's pretty amazing. We got a call yesterday morning in the office, and Pat McGowan said, hey, we got these people, Ben and Jerry, that are coming through Pittsfield tomorrow. Can we get some people together? And I was like, I think I heard 10 people would be a single and 40 would be a home run. I said, this is Pittsfield and it's ice cream, and we don't have I just want to be here to welcome Ben and Jerry. So those of you here may know me as the owner of as a founder of a solar company here in town. I'm very excited about Ben and Jerry being here, because I know in my youth, their company and their vision of actually taking their heart and pouring it into the work that they do and having values in a place where in the market for a very long time there was the idea that by saying something you might be isolating yourself against a portion of your market. And so the thing that's the most impressive to me about the two of you is that building a culture within a company is a very challenging thing, and to build one that lasts is even harder. To build one that has lasted for 20 years after you exited the company and continues to give back and show what business can do as a force of good is really an inspiration to us. We actually converted to a B Corp about a year ago and joined your guys' leadership as a company. And so, yeah, on behalf of the great people of Pittsfield, we'd like to welcome you to
fantastic greeting that you guys have given us. We had no idea what was going on. We were in Augusta at the State House and heard we were supposed to show up at the library in Pittsfield. And, had no idea what goes on in the basement of the library. It is a beautiful thing. It is so good to be here and see the multi-generational movement that Bernie has instituted and brought together really coming to pass. Before Bernie, Jerry and I used to be the most famous people from Vermont. We are honored to be able to give that mantle up to Bernie because, ice cream is good, but a president of the United States who truly believes in justice in all its flavors, that's euphoric. And I mean, euphoria is a high-minded word, but the reason why Bernie will be able to accomplish all that he has set out to do is that he's actually down to earth. He has the experience. He's been in D.C. for 30 years, in the cesspool of what is our political system today, and that's what will enable us all together to help him to flush the crap down the drain. I've been thinking a lot lately, for some odd reason, about the Pledge of Allegiance, the flags. And we all said the Pledge of Allegiance as every day in public school, and most of those words were a bunch of mumble jumble, meaningless. But the Pledge of Allegiance ends with the words, "and justice for all." And I don't know about you guys, but as a kid in school, I believed it, and I was proud of it. And what a wonderful thing, a country that believes in justice for all. And then you get out of school, you graduate, and you enter the real world, and you realize that it never really was justice for all. It wasn't justice for Native Americans. It wasn't justice for people of color. It wasn't justice for women, or for low-income people, or for people of different sexual persuasions. And I think that, that disconnect from what we all thought our country was about to what it is, and the realization that it's money that drives everything, and that our politicians are bought and paid for by corporations and the ultra-wealthy, and that it seems like people are only doing things in their own self-interest. I think that has led to kind of a group malaise, that the soul of our country is sick. We are spiritually bereft, and the symptoms of that are a lot of depression, a lot of these diseases of despair, of addiction, and now in the White House we have a person who is preaching fear and hatred. And the wonderful thing about Bernie, the wonderful thing about this transformation that Bernie represents, is that we turn from fear and hatred to love and compassion and generosity. And that's the values that we believe, the values that are truly American. Jerry and I have seen Bernie up close and personal for the past 40 years. Ben & Jerry's was just starting off in an old gas station in Burlington, Vermont in 1978. And the mayor of Burlington was this old crony, Democratic machine politician who had been in office forever. Everyone thought he was going to be in office forever. And then some young upstart says he's going to run against him for mayor. And nobody thought the guy had a prayer. And he went around knocking door to door, focusing on young people and older people, people who had been marginalized and left out. And when it came time to count the votes, Bernie Sanders unseated this incumbent by 10 votes. could won by 10 votes. And I was there at the victory party scooping ice cream, and I'm really looking forward to being at the victory party this time. What we as regular everyday people can transform our country into. And it's Bernie's campaign that has brought us all together, all of us who have that hope and that belief that yes, America can be what it aspires to be. We can live in a place where we're proud to be Americans, where we're proud to help each other, to not just care about ourselves, but to care about our neighbors. And, you know, it's when Bernie was mayor, you know, one of the things he did, which was, you know, just a little itsy-bitsy thing, but it stands out to me, he paired up teenagers with elderly people who were too old to be able to shovel their own sidewalks. And he had this group of teenage volunteers that would shovel sidewalks for them. You know, one of the other things that happened when he got elected mayor was that the previous mayor had put in place plans with the developers to build high-rise, high-income condominiums on the shore of Lake Champlain that would end up privatizing the shore of Lake Champlain so that it wasn't accessible. And Bernie came in there, talked about the right of public access that I had never heard of before. And he fought those developers all the way up to the top court in the state. He won, and today we have the most beautiful park that's open to everybody on the shore of Lake Champlain. And then, and you know, even as mayor, he was talking about the need for national health care, the need to be able to provide a college education for everybody who wants one. And, you know, those things were considered to be so far out there. But he has kept at it. And, you know, and then he got elected to Congress, and as our representative, he voted against the war in Iraq twice before it was cool. He voted against NAFTA before it was cool. I mean, he was hanging out there and being ridiculed and criticized for things that we all realize, that even the mainstream realizes were mistakes to this point. And it was Bernie who led the effort to maintain Social Security benefits when there was a big effort to cut them back. And just recently in the Senate, it was Bernie who introduced the Stop Bezos Act. That stands for Stop Bad Employers by Zeroing Out Subsidies. And it essentially said that for large corporations that are paying their employees such lousy wages that the employees have to end up going on Medicaid and food stamps just to get by, that those employers would have to reimburse the federal government for the cost of the Medicaid and food stamps. And 30 days after he introduced it, Jeff Bezos, head of Amazon, raised their starting wage to $15 an hour. So, you know, Bernie is already leading the country. There's lots of candidates talking about universal health care. There's lots of candidates now talking about free higher education. And but the reality is that there's only one candidate who's been working for those things for the last 40 years. He is a guy who believes, lives, breathes justice through and through, in his soul, in his heart, in his blood. You know, he started, kind of his first act was to get arrested for protesting segregated housing when he was a college kid. And he has kept at it. And really, I mean, he's just based on caring about the general welfare of everybody, especially those people who have been oppressed and denied. You know, you guys here are, you know, kind of political insiders. You know, you've been following this, you're concerned about it. You know, most people out there have not. And, you know, a lot of them are just thinking, boy, I just hope those Democrats, you know, are going to pick someone already. And they're not really following the issues that much. But what they really want is they want to defeat Trump. And, you know, the conventional wisdom is that the person that's most likely to defeat Trump would be the centrist, the middle of the road guy. But the reality is that in poll after poll after poll, in a head-to-head matchup, Bernie beats Trump. Bernie beats Trump.
That's right.
Bernie beats Trump. Bernie beats Trump. Yo, Bernie beats Trump. Bernie beats Trump. Bernie beats Trump. Bernie beats Trump. Yes. He does. That is the amazing, beautiful thing. Not only do we get to beat Trump, but we get to transform our country into the caring, compassionate, fair place it was supposed to be at the start. There's one other thing I've been thinking, which I haven't really voiced to anybody before yet, ever, but it's been within me, so I need to get it out there, and that is that, you know, you've all heard about, you know, the bully pulpit. I think what happened is that Trump didn't really understand what it meant, and he thought the president is supposed to be a bully. So he's been trying to do that, and he's been doing a very, very good job of it. But when Bernie gets to be in the White House, he will use the bully pulpit the way it's supposed to be used, to let the people of the country know of the truth of what's going on, and to inspire them to finally take the bull by the horns and get our country back where it's supposed to be. Thank you very much. The brains behind the entire operation. The guy who's been chopping up all those chunks all these years. My partner, the one and only Jerry Greenfield.
That's Ben, huh? It is wonderful for us to be here. You know, I'm sure it's true for Ben too. This reminds me so much of being in Vermont. You know, Ben talked about how we started in Burlington. You know, and in Vermont, Burlington is the big city. It's 40,000 people. That's the biggest city in the whole state. There's 600,000 people in the whole state, and you know, we live in just outside of Burlington. The county there is Chittenden County, which is, you know, kind of the hub, and there's a lot of people who say, you know, Chittenden County isn't the real Vermont, but you can see Vermont from there. And, you know, being here makes me feel like, yeah, this is the real Maine. There's other parts of Maine we've been, but this is, so it's great to be here. And there's actually nothing Ben and I would rather do than go out and scoop ice cream in support of Bernie. This is the most fun thing we can do. I do need to tell you that Ben & Jerry's as a company does not support any political candidates, and it does not support any political parties. So the ice cream today is courtesy of the Sanders campaign. Ben and I individually certainly do support political candidates, and we are all in for Bernie. You know, actually before Bernie, Ben and I never campaigned for any presidential candidates. And that's because there's never been anyone like Bernie. as Ben alluded to, we have been constituents of Bernie's for over 30 years. So he's been our mayor in Burlington, he's been our congressperson, he's now our senator. And so we have seen how consistent and unwavering he has been in fighting for people who often don't have a voice. People who are marginalized, elderly people, low-income people, people of color. And he has never changed because Bernie is not for sale. He's not taking money from, as Ben says, ultra-wealthy people, from corporations. He supports the people who are supporting his campaign, who is all of us. So we're so thrilled to be able to do this. It's probably time to start scooping eggs. I'm going to tell you about the flavors. There's only two, so you'll be able to keep them in mind. And one is very easy to remember. It's strawberry cheesecake. Self-descriptive. Strawberry cheesecake, you got it. The other flavor is called Justice Remixed. It's the criminal justice reform flavor from Ben & Jerry's. So it is a combination of chocolate and cinnamon ice creams. It's cinnamon bun dough and spicy fudge brownie. So there's a little bit of spice to it. And do you think, Ben, that we're going to be capable of mixing flavors for people that want to try a little bit?
I think so. Try a little bit of both. I mean, I was the flavor developer. I mean, not of these particular flavors. I can tell you that the odd combination of all those different parts of Justice Remixed work together in a synergistic fashion to create a flavor that is indescribably delicious.
The kids have been so patient.
Kids will get ice cream first. Kids get ice cream first. Kids get ice cream first.